David's one of the most naturally gifted singers that I've worked with. Great pitch, great aggression. You know, he can be very aggressive and yet sound very musical. I'm not. I mean, does have a big warm up thing that he does with me and him. It's like once he's warmed up and in there, we just start, attacking it. And generally, I don't know if it's always David's process, but my process is always little bits at a time. I mean, I want to get the most out of every single line. I'm not really a guy that expects a singer to sing all through the whole song 3 times and then leave. You know, I'm kind of going through verse one. Let's make verse one as good as we possibly can. Now the second verse, and then we go to the first chorus, and then and then you got to make sure that it all flows through, as a production and as a thought process too. So, but again, those decisions when you're done as many times as David or I have, that we're already thinking of those things ahead of time, making sure it flows from the verses to the choruses. And even if it's not sung as a continuous pass, it's gonna work. I think out of everything, I put a great deal of attention on vocals because that's the first thing almost that people hear. Mm-hmm. Definitely the most identifiable thing in general, other than of course in metal, it's a guitar. But I think I'd have to say that's the most important thing. I've heard lots of great songs with great vocals with bad guitar riffs. I've never heard a great song with a bad vocal. So to me, it's the most important thing. And to have someone with as much attention to it as David is awesome.
So one of the things about him that stick out to me is he has a very operatic voice, and you don't really see that in modern day metal so much. You see it a lot in the 80s and 70s, but not so much today. Working with someone who's more operatic, is there a different way you have to approach his vocals than you would someone who's not like that?
Yeah, he's definitely a little different than the other singers that I've worked with. And even in a sense, some of my own musical tastes. I mean, I'm a hillbilly at heart, so I like a lot of, more organic countryish singing. So Dave is almost the opposite of that. But he's every note, you're either hitting it or you're not hitting it. He's not sliding too much into notes and moving the melody around. He's on. And that's what I mean. But that's probably some of the choir background that he had. So I think sometimes with that kind of singing, it is a little bit harder to get any emotion out of it, because it is, it is so much on or off. You're either in tune or out of tune. It's not necessarily the emotional impact of that word, the way the guy's singing it. He's not even singing the right vowel sound, but it sounds cool. It's really not that. He's a little bit more typically on everything. And when he's singing, a lot of times, he gets his vocals done fairly fast because the melody's defined. He sings it in tune, sings it in time, knows what he's doing, sings it 4 times. Great. If I asked him to sing it more times than that, he'd probably sing exactly the same way. So I think with David, I think a lot of my approach was to try to get him off his game a little bit by, I would even say something simple as sing it really quiet. Like, even if I knew that that's never going to be the vocal on the final track, just sing it really quiet and let's see what that does. See what that does to how you're singing that lyric. Are you thinking of it differently? And a lot of times these things aren't spoken, but that's one of the things I'm sure he'd probably tell you that, now sing it a little bit more aggressive, sing it even more aggressive than you thought you could sing it. With someone like David, who's just a naturally born singer, that's almost the only thing I can offer him in many ways, is getting him outside of what he normally does, and at least having him stretch a little more, because it's so easy for him in the sense, I mean, easy, not easy for us, but easy for him to do the things that he does. For him at this point, that, stretching out and doing ballads and doing songs that don't require that operatic kind of attack is what you're saying. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean by that. And that actually made some of the lighter songs more of a challenge. But he was ready for that challenge and did great.